All right. Hopefully you can hear me around the world here. Let's see if we are live on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you so much for this post WTC 2025 broadcast with our Nordic friends. So we have Alexander from Denmark. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And Jökull from Iceland.
Hi.
And of course, Jonathan from Norway, but you also have some American background, right?
Turns out I bleed red, white, and blue, baby. But luckily, those are the same colors as Norway, so it all kind of works out.
That's a good point. And of course, last but not least, Finland's captain, Jouni.
Thank you for the invite.
So we are just a couple of days after WTC in Leoben, Austria, and we're gonna try to get some, can we say, information, some good stories from all the action happening there at the WTC 2025. Of course, shout out to Fat Shark, Alpha Spel, Scree, and Asus RG that were able to bring the broadcast and also making this one possible. So check those ones out. That really help us. And make sure that you state all your questions and thought in the Twitch, YouTube, and of course Discord chat as we go. But first off, Alexander, did you survive the Nurgle plague?
Yes, luckily I came home safe and sound with no maladies from the event, but quite tired after a 16-hour drive back to Denmark.
Oh yeah, you drew all the way. Is that correct? That must have been an interesting one to say the least.
Yeah. Luckily, I had one of my friends, Erasmus, who we had on as a coach this year, so we could drive together and make a bit of a road trip out of it. And I do believe the other team members were actually a little bit envious that we got to go have a hike and see a little bit of Austrian nature as well.
Yeah, I mean, Austria and Leoben amazingly pretty, very far away, but during the action we couldn't really experience the nice weather. It was more a curse, I would say. How about you, Jökull? How do you feel after the WTC? Did you also survive the plague?
I felt better. I had a fever the last day and missed the bar popular end of the event. But feeling a little bit better today. Got some medicine, but been a little bit of a difficult journey at WTC this time around.
All right, thank you for coming on, even though you got hit a bit by the Nurgle plague, I guess. And you, Jonathan, how are you? I know that Team Norway, I think many of you guys did get hit by it, but it seems like you are in stellar performance as always.
Listen, man, I was there. I had my vitamins with me. My buddy and I, we went and worked out a couple times over the week. I came home, I slept. The very next day, I had like 2 coaching matches I was doing for people. So I hit the ground running. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm healthy, happy, and alive, baby.
Never-ending stop story with you and the Warhammer 40k. Jouni, Team Finland, did you also survive the Nurgle or did you bring it home to the woods?
I survived even though I was a bit hangover without drinking, so feels unfair. But I had my med pack with me, so.
That's good to hear. All right, let's start to kick it off. And I think that there is so many topics that we can talk about, but I think one part that we just need to address is, I don't know how many of you, if did all of you play the War Masters, or was it Jouni? Did you play War Masters?
Yeah, I did the whole round. I did the whole game. Oh, I'm sorry. You said Jouni. My bad. Forgive me.
Yeah, I'm too old for that shit, so no.
And with you, Jökull, did you play it?
Not this year, no. It's if I'm playing a difficult army and pairing, it's just too much, Yeah.
Understood. I mean, you bring in the Thousand Suns. I know it's not the easy task. With that, we did have Alexander actually on stream, and I know, Jonathan, that a majority, I would say, of Team Norway was competing. Correct, Jonathan?
And I think we had like 6 of us made the whole War Master. I think like 6 of us did 13 games, bro.
That's crazy. And
Yeah.
Alexander, I know that for you with your Thousand Suns, I said we had it on stream. Was that against
Against Gustavo on Astra
Gustavo?
Militarum.
Oh yeah, the Portuguese Astra Militarium, and you did well. And I don't actually remember, where did you end up in the War Masters by the end of it?
Well, I ended up at 10th place, I believe. But after the stream game against Gustavo, I actually ended up facing Albin on the top table, where I took my only loss, which still bothers me a little bit. But he deserved it, and he deserved to take the eventual win. So if nothing else, I can say that at least in the Open, I only lost to the winner.
That's a fantastic. And I think Alban from France, I think was a debutant into this year, and did win the War Masters both against Alexander and Ines in that final, and also for sure was a strong player coming in or for this tournament, and for sure brought home a lot of points for France. But Alexander, I know that many think that Death Guard maybe is having a upside against T-Suns. Like, what were your view on that matchup, and especially Alban playing the, can we say, the index detachment?
Yeah, I think it's a hard matchup, if nothing else, because Death Guard is a bit too strong right now. But frankly, the same case can be made for TS. They are also a strong army, so I definitely believe that there is play. And I actually do have a few tech pieces in my list. That means that I can play the matchup. And I guess we can dive into the details of that later. But specifically against Index Death Guard, it is good that he has no indirect pieces. It is hard that he has -1 damage. That makes the math a little bit shaky on a lot of stuff. And it's a matchup I've won before, but Albin had my number that day.
I hear you, and I hear you. And Jonathan, as you said, Team Norway had 6 players playing the War Masters. I know that the first day was maybe a bit rough. So when we had dinner, 7, even 7.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, actually.
I know the first day or so were rough for the War Masters, and some of your teammates were saying that they're gonna drop if it didn't go well. But I think day 2 overall went pretty good, and quite many of the Norwegians performed quite good at one. How was your view into War Masters?
Honestly, it went real well. I went 3 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. My 2 draws were winning draws, mind you. But that's the way we play at the WTC and War Master. So I had a blast. I think I ended like 36, if I'm not mistaken. I think we had like 4 of us were in the 30s. So I don't know. We all pretty happy with how we performed.
Yeah, amazing to see. And you were on your Blood Angels for this tournament. And if we went over to you, Jökull, did you play War Masters last year?
I did not.
You did not.
No.
It's just too much Warhammer.
I played it in 23, playing G-Steel Occult, and that was a marathon session, both for the War Masters and the pairings and the WTC, and just never again after that. At least when I'm doing pairings.
And Genestealer Occult is definitely not a complicated army.
No.
No movement, no anything, yeah, of course.
But the question I had to you, Jökull, and maybe Jouni also can follow in. Like, I think that previous years, to me, it seemed like War Master have been, can we say, even a bigger deal. And this year, it was a bit fewer players. I think the focus to WTC has shifted even more. But what we did see with Alexander, with Jonathan, but also I would say with all the top players coming into that tournament, they played the same list. And previous years, it seems like it took like more a funky list or the army that you would like to play. Like, Jökull or Jouni, were you surprised seeing so many top players coming with the list and not trying to hide anything?
Not really. I mean, like, I felt like this year it felt even friendlier than last year, and I didn't get a vibe from anyone at War Masters trying to get an edge by watching or figuring something out that maybe was there in 23. So I think maybe the top teams have matured a tiny bit between the years. I at least felt everything was more friendly this year. Yeah.
And for you, Jouni, how are Team Finland thinking, you as a captain, about the War Masters and people actually coming there trying to get extra reps, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for those maybe traveling for the first time or second time, like getting those international caps in before the main event. But playing like how many 14 games of Warhammer in 6 days, that's a bit much. So the endurance definitely comes into question at some point.
There were actually quite a few players who did play the Alpine Cup and the War Masters and the WTC, but I think that they are Warhammer samurais on an even different scale than you guys.
I think those guys have an addiction.
For sure.
Actually. I'm one to talk. I did a local RTT, then did the drive, and then did War Master, and then WTC. But
Wow.
I can't imagine playing that many games in that hall in Leoben.
I don't know. Let's be real. We all basically just flushed like $2,000 down the toilet just to go to Leoben to play Warhammer. We all have a problem. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I think sure, Jonathan, but I think at the same time, what an amazing event. I know there were some that maybe didn't really fancy the occasion, and for sure were very warm the last couple of days. But coming to the War Masters and playing that one and be able to be a representative of your country for WTC, I think it's just an amazing experience. It's such a wonderful tournament. I was hyped last year when I didn't understand anything. I was even more hyped this year when I understood a bit more. But I was thinking here, just to get it out of the weeds, because I also think that people wants to hear about like your thinkings coming into this tournament and your army selection and so on. And I was thinking that maybe we can start with Alexander's list here on the Thousand Suns. And we heard that you did perform really well. You were on the Vesla stream in War Masters. You ended up 10th. But once again, Alexander, you performed tremendously well individual, and you became the best player of the tournament. I think, I hope in the YouTube and Twitch chats you give some applause to it, because it's a fantastic achievement. Is it something that you want to point out about your army? I think that Thousand Suns did have their codex. Some people say it was completely OP. Many others saw it not being as strong. I think Team Sweden, for example, had this as an 8th army coming into the tournament, so it was not a given for them. Like, where did you end it up? And you do play somewhat of a different style, I would say, of T-Suns.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot to go over in that question. I think to begin with, Thousand Suns is absolutely a top 8 army. I think a lot of the nations have the thing where either you have a Thousand Suns player or you don't. It is an army that leans very heavily on faction specialism, and you don't usually have someone just pick it up for the sake of picking it up. We actually see very skewed results where some people do incredibly well, but there are also people who just fall flat completely. Even sometimes the experienced players have a rough go at it, because it's an army that requires you to play in certain ways sometimes. So for my list specifically, I guess at this point the secret is out. Mutalith Vortex Beasts are bad, Terminators are good.
And I think it's an interesting one for sure, because I like those Mutant Vortex Beasts, but I did play Warp Melt also before that nerf. And the Terminators, should they be in, should they be not? I think that was a big question, and you showed that the Terminators, it's not a 2026 thing, it's 2025.
The year of Terminators. Yeah, no, I think they do the job that the Mutaliths do, where they draw the fire from the entire opponent's army, draw out all their units, all the while they are actually tankier against almost all profiles than the Mutaliths, and they deal out a lot more damage. It's obviously not a one-to-one comparison. They are a different unit than the Mutaliths, sorry. But they do... Usually Thousand Suns' biggest problem in the game is getting it started. If you're against someone who plays passively enough, then it can be hard to actually get behind their ruins and dig out their things and make the points that the army wants to make. And that is one way that Thousand Suns could historically be countered. But the Terminators, they don't They don't subscribe to that. They kick the door wide open to the game, and they force interaction from the opponent. And that is a game that Thousand Suns almost always wins.
Amazing. And maybe, I mean, Jökull, you also played the Thousand Suns. You performed tremendously good too in this tournament. By far Iceland's best player, and I think you ended up like 25th or something individually. Is there something around Alexander's list that you think is interesting or that you want to point out before we go over to yours?
I think biggest thing that I look at is where does the Arkin Vortex go? Some people really like it on the Demon Prince. Some people really like it on the Infernal Master. And some people really like it on the Sorcerer. We spent so much time on that one, and I really like it on the Sorcerer. It is wildly skewy. Sometimes you kill everything, and sometimes you kill a decent amount. There's no low amount on it, but I mean, I really like the double 10 Angkors. We did full prep with Belgium, and I went for the double 10 Angkors, and my Belgian counterpart did not, and that performed better. We started at 3 Mutilated Vortex Beasts and cut down to 1. So definitely I like cutting the Mutilated Vortex Beast. But yeah, find the Demon Prince quite interesting. Tried him a decent amount. Didn't end on it. But yeah, this obviously is depends how you want to use it. Do you want to be a defender? Do you want to be an attacker? What do you want to counter? Do you want to like basically what I did, I said I don't want to face Death Guard with 3 PPCs or a lot of indirect. And I don't have a faction that can go all-rounder into everything. I do not have the best matchup into Space Wolves, and into the 6 giant Chaos Knights, it's not going to be the best, so I'll set those to the side and try and skew up the other games. So I'm very curious to Alexander what his goal with the army was, defender attacker wise.
Yeah, I guess I can answer that directly. So I was used very much as a generalist attacker. My matrix was big wins, slightly smaller wins, and draws. That was basically it. The only thing, very much mirroring your sentiment, that I did not want to go into is 3 PPC Death Guard, and also the more Poxwalkers, the worse. Because Thousand Suns do not infiltrate. So if you get hemmed in turn 1 against 3 indirect pieces, then the game is very hard.
Bring Rubric Phalanx, you coward.
Maybe. But very interesting point about the Arcane Vortex and where it goes, because I do legitimately think that all those characters you mentioned are correct. Having it on the Winged Demon Prince, like I did, makes your matchup better specifically against the Death Guard, as well as Space Wolves and Chaos Knights. It's very interesting if you do the math, actually, because the Winged Demon Prince has full rerolls to hit and wound against Psyker characters. And it just so happens that a Knight Abominant is a Psyker character. So one Demon Prince from Rapid Ingress actually one-taps that Knight through shooting and combat. And that is usually enough to, first off, ruin the day of the Chaos Knight player. and second, win the game. It's also just very efficient with damage 4 against Death Shroud, against Thunderwolves. He's very efficient against Marine Bodies with his damage 2 shooting and damage 2 sweep attacks. So those were all factors as to why I wanted it on him. I also wanted a piece that was completely CP agnostic, because the army has a real CP issue, and usually Magnus takes out up 2 to 3 of your CP every turn, which is all of them. So I wanted a piece that wasn't reliant on any of that.
Very cool. And it's not a T-Sun show, but reality is that all the 4 teams, if I'm not incorrect, did bring 1,000 Suns, and I also know that Sweden brought it. So just like a last part about this amazing list, and for sure something that I think a lot of people will bring in after this tournament, giving Alexander's great performance. Jonathan, Johnny, anything that you want to add before we go over to Jökull's 1,000 Suns?
As a team with undercooked 1,000 Suns with the 3 beasts, I can definitely say that we ended up first defending with them because of the issues with tables with the 3 beasts. So makes sense everything Alexander tells here, that taking out the beasts makes the list more attacking.
Yeah, I think shockingly Magnus is good, and you shouldn't have bring non-Magnus T-Sun right now. Not that we would ever do anything like that.
Well, did you bring without Magnus on your arm? Because I know a few players did.
It was a swing and a miss. We brought a non-Magnus list. The list still actually had its strengths. It was still Cabal, right? Or Grand Coven. Sorry, it was still Grand Coven. There was logic behind it. There was testing behind it, and it turned out it was a swing and a miss into the meta.
I actually do think it's completely reasonable not to bring Magnus for both Warp Meld and for Rubricate Phalanx, but for Coven exactly.
Yeah, bro, we're not like super excited about what we did with that one, if I'm being completely honest.
But your captain played the 1,000 Suns, right?
Jonathan? Yeah, and honestly, he did a good job. Like his scoring was actually very reasonable. But we just couldn't ever break into the high scores, which is one of the things that we really need. We needed T-Suns to go get us an 18 or get us every now and then. And he was doing totally fine getting us draws, even 12s. Like his record was generally pretty good. It's just we couldn't get those knockout punches. So it was an error. It was a creative error, but it was an error.
Yeah, he's not the first captain ever to overthink his own list.
Those things do happen. All right,
Yeah.
Let's go over here to Jökull's, and maybe if you want to point out some of your thoughts behind it. I think we got half of it. I think that we will hear maybe from Alexander some thoughts about Infernal Masters, but take it away, Jökull.
Oh yeah, so I tried to put in a lot of good units and took out things and saw how that worked, and put in things and saw how that worked. So essentially, it was supposed to be just high scoring. I tried out different things with the characters, but it's a decent amount of screening. Plays the mission very well. So yeah, I have Magnus to begin. I've got the double Infernal Master, one of them with the Vortex. A lot of people played the Sorcerer with the Vortex. No, sorry, the Sorcerer with the Teleport. But my thinking was the unit that I'm teleporting, I want to get really far up the field, and the Infernal Master can Overwatch, and the Sorcerer kind of cannot. I think the unusual thing is the Arkin Vortex on the Sorcerer. He was absolutely fantastic. I was playing him in testing, and one-tapped the Hackathon Land Fortress just with him, and then I one-tapped the 6-man Wotan Bike Brick, and he turned out to be absolutely fantastic at WTC. But yeah, I've got the 5 units of rubrics. I've got the 3 units of bows with bows, Sangor Enlightened. I ran the Exalted Sorcerer for the indirect. I tried putting that onto the unit of Boko, so Sangor Enlightened, for the staying outside of 18 and shooting. But that's actually even better on the rubrics, I found, because then you can get the reroll to wound on the Exalted Sorcerer. He's actually not horrible in combat. But yeah, essentially often my plan was to jam a lot of heavy stuff onto one marker and then keep on running objective denial units onto my opponent's marker. I had the one Mutilate Vortex Beast. It was mediocre. I think going back to it, I probably wouldn't run Mutilate Vortex Beast again. It is good for some matchups. I found into melee and death guard, and that was quite good. But yeah, I guess that's the maybe overall arc.
Amazing. We don't need to deep dive, but of course, Alexander, would love to hear your part of it. And I think it's also important to point out that Thousand Suns, I think, was not really figured out coming into this tournament. I'm not sure if maybe we should say, Alexander, that you did figure it out with Terminators, but I think to Jökull's point and what you said, you can play this army very differently. It can be like a defender, it can be attacker, you can try to just kind of neutralize or be the big point taker. But what is your initial thoughts here looking at Jökull's? Probably you had done that already coming into the tournament, though.
No, I think it's probably among the best of the generic, so to speak, Thousand Suns lists. In general, I subscribe to the philosophy that rubrics are better than beasts, and if you're gonna run rubrics only, then you should have 5 squads, which is what Jökull has. I also think it's the correct chaff package of having the 18 goats with bows, and then having 2x10 Sangors. I found that actually a lot of matchups got very hard if you only had 10 Sangors, which is what a lot of people ended up running. I think 20 is absolutely correct. I would rather go to 30 than to 10. The Rhino I thought was absolute garbage. Then it got firing deck, and then it was a little bit less garbage. So they're definitely worth running. And you mentioned it in regards to Infernal Masters versus Sorcerers, because those are the two best generic rubric leading characters. And I remember being asked, why do I have 3 Sorcerers and no Infernal Masters? And besides the fact that it just so worked out with the points for my list specifically, the Sorcerers do actually have a higher damage output. With the once per game ability to get +3 attacks and +3 strength, it is significantly higher. With rituals, it is even more so significantly higher, because rerolls an extra AP just blows them through the stratosphere. The Infernal Masters are good for exactly 2 things. They overwatch, and they are ever so slightly more durable, because they can flip. There's also a point to be made that their damage output is maybe a little bit more reliable, as long as you don't mind rolling 2d6 and hoping to get more than 5. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to have Crystal on an Infernal Master to threaten the Overwatch. I think it's perfectly reasonable to have an Infernal Master to threaten the Rapid Ingress and Overwatch play, which can be extremely powerful, also extremely CP expensive, and actually hard to pull off in a lot of games. Anyways, that's going into specifics. I think in general, as far as Magnus and 25 Tactical Marines list goes, this is a good one. I like it. I played quite a bit against my team with different variations of Thousand Suns lists, mostly Brian's, because the US was in our pod, and I would definitely rather play this one than that one.
Anything you want to add?
I will say one thing about the Infernal Master and Sorcerer debate. So I think there's one key point that's missing, and that's the AP on the Infernal Master. Being AP2 can be a 100% damage increase into certain things. I went for it out of flex. I was almost never overwatching, but yeah, I really like the Sorcerers myself. I will say the Rhino is extremely good in the mirror, but it depends. But what I found also was having the +1 to wound in certain situations was pretty decent, and I found the +1 to hit on the Sorcerer helped out sometimes.
Absolutely. And remind me now, Jökull, did you play Thousand Suns or Grey Knights last WTC?
Proudly Grey Knights is my first go on Thousand Suns. Yeah.
And did you also feel that, like, it's not? I mean, Grey Knights is also a pretty advanced part, but for me, the hard part with Thousand Suns is to understand the damage, because either you do too much or too little. There is never anything in between, it feels like. Let's not detail, but do you agree on that one? It's like a fairly tricky army.
Definitely. And so we did prep with Belgium, and I'm very good friends with Liam, and we've talked about like some teams that are have a bigger scope in terms of experience, and I think the ideal scenario is you have maybe the strongest player not on the meta breaker S tier faction, but maybe on the second or third strongest faction that's maybe a little bit more complicated to play. I think that's the ideal. But yeah, I think Thousands was much stronger last year than it was this year.
Yeah, I think we can say without a doubt that Thousand Suns last year was probably the strongest faction across the board. But reality is that both the two of you have showed, and I think that if we take away the Death Guard and the two Knights list, I think Thousand Suns almost crushed everything else in this tournament. Anyhow, let's stop with the Thousand Suns, or the gods of this tournament in a way, and actually go over to you, Jonathan, because I think in many ways, Jonathan, it's interesting to see. You played Blood Angels, you did it really good. From my perspective, following most of Sweden's team matches, they struggle, I would say, the most against Blood Angels. We do know that it was very few tier 1 teams that choose the Blood Angels. They went with Space Wolves, but love to hear your thoughts and the kind of how you landed on it. I know on your fantastic channel, Happy Crumping, that you also been talking about Dark Angels. Maybe we can get a bit spicy of that too, but let's focus on your Blood Angels list first.
Man, so my Blood Angels list, it was slightly different from my WTC to my War Masters. They're very similar. Yeah, but in War Masters, I ran a 3-man squad of Sanguinary Guard led by a Rage-fueled captain. That's the only big difference, because in War Masters, that was a unit of Death Company led by a Death Company captain. So that was really the only swap out. The reason why I ran it with the Sangard and the normal jump captain with the Rage-fueled Warrior in the War Masters is because it is a much more flexible unit. Getting access to the free CP usage allowed me to do free rapid ingresses. Sanguinary Guard have the OC2 on them because of the banner. The 2-up, 4-up gives me a durability factor that I wouldn't have in other aspects. Whereas for the teams, I didn't need that flexibility. I just needed to be able to smash something's face off, and then it's okay that I die. So that's why I went more with the Death Company Marines on the teams list. Overall, the list is very different than a lot of other Blood Angel armies that you will see out there, and I am exceptionally happy with the way that the list worked. The list is designed to work in a different way than what most Blood Angels lists work. My list was not made to get 20 O's and 18s. My list was made specifically to be able to go out there, and as long as I don't run into IK or Death Guard, I'm going to be, or there's an argument for CK there as well, then I'm going to be getting 13s and 14s. And the list does that job extremely well. Now, I will say, I am not personally particularly pleased with my results from this tournament. I had a little bit of arrogance in me because, and we'll talk a lot about this a little bit more in the future, in later on in the video. We had a lot of brand new players, and I felt the need that I was going to have to compensate for some inexperience. So I was a little too aggressive this tournament, and I got punished for it, especially from our lovely co-host here, Mr. Jökull. He spanked me pretty hard. Punished me for my aggression there. So one of the things I tried to do is I tried to make up for some of the points that I thought we wouldn't be getting elsewhere, and it ended up hurting my team. So that was an error in my approach for the WTC this way. But the way that the list was designed works exceptionally well. So let me run you through some really cool things here. These 2 ball predators are the absolute stars of the show. People don't know what a ball predator is. Well, basically it has 3 flamers on it, so 2 heavy flamers, and then 1 18-inch range flamer that's damage 2. So it's an exceptionally flexible model that moves super, super fast. It goes 12 inches, it gets to reroll advances, it has assault on everything, and I can basically make this bad boy go 18 inches turn 1, roast the crap out of whatever my opponent's chaff, skirmish, or infiltration unit is that they want to be using for early game actions, grab an objective, and then overwatch the crap out of anything that wants to move in their turn. Now, the beauty of it is that it is a tank at 125 that has T10, 3-up armor save, it's got access to smoke, and it's going to require my opponent to put anti-tank things into it. They can't kill it with just skirmishing melee stuff, which means if they want to come out and deal with my tank, they have to expose their anti-tank, which allows my Gladiator Lancers to kill their battle tanks before they get to kill my stuff. And if they don't want to deal with my Ball Predators, great. So basically, that is like the front line of the army that just goes and pushes and pushes and pushes. And then it's backed up by this 6-man brick of super crazy Sanguinary Guard led by Dante, who is crazy fast and just causing tons of problems. They generally just go behind a central ruin and say, hey, I'm not going to move, but I could move. And anyone that's within 27, 28 inches of where those models are is going to die next turn if I want them to die. Then I have the unit of Leguard Vets who have the Fights First enhancement, which basically can sit behind a wall anywhere and say you cannot charge on this objective. So it's an extremely hard to charge army. I've got the Sanguinor who can come in from Deep Strike at the end of my opponent's charge phase, screw up pylons, assassinate characters. He's also a lone up, so he very often might even just rapid ingress onto an objective, 12.1 inches away from my enemy, score me free primary. You've got another Fight First character in the form of Mephiston. So basically, this army says melee armies don't get to play the game. And because of the double Lancers and the Ball Predators, I get to screw with a bunch of other stuff. Interestingly enough, it's actually one of the designs of the list is meant to handle T-Suns. And our friend Jökull here is actually the very first T-Suns player that I have played in testing. And I have tested this against 9 WTC players. That has actually realized the way the list operates, and he was really intelligent, and he actually sniped out my Ball Predators first. Whereas all my other T-Suns opponents are always, worried about the big Lancers or the infantry bricks coming and playing. But he was smart, and he recognized the threat for what it was, and he killed the Ball Predators first, and it showed in his score when he took the win. So basically what they do is they make it so you can't move Ripper Marines. So he did a great job. He countered it really well. But yeah, the list was freaking awesome. It pushed. It got me 13s. It got me 14s. And I really loved it. Really loved the way it operates.
And I think you set it up there very well, Jonathan. One part is interesting is that I believe Denmark and Finland, and of course, Jonathan did bring the Blood Angels. Jökull, you didn't bring any Space Marines, and then you also crushed these Blood Angels. So what's up? Is just Marines bad right now?
I mean, to be clear, it was a 7. It was a 13. It wasn't a crushing, to be clear.
We brought more Marines than all the Ordinators combined this time around. We brought 100 and something Black Templars.
Oh, sorry. So I did misread it. You had the Black Templars. You were the only ones in the tournament.
We had the Horde. Yeah.
Apologies for that one.
All good.
John King.
That's a real list.
No, but
I will say last year we lost to the Ball Predators in a key round. One of my teammates got smashed by 2 Ball Predators, and that lost the round to us, so they are not to be underestimated.
My guy.
Yeah, but really cool, and maybe we don't need to deep dive more on the Blood Angels. I think that one interesting part, though, is that Jonathan did have quite a shooting with the double Ball Predators and 2 Lancers, where I do think that individually the 2 best performing players of the WTC did not have any shooting almost at all. But it should be said, this is a team tournament, so to a fair degree, looking at individual scores, of course, if it's not as great as Alexander's, I think that, we should take it with a grip of salt. But let's go into Johnny's part here, because we don't want to get stuck with the army list all the day, even though it's one of the most interesting things when it comes out from the WTC. And Johnny, you were back on your Aeldari. Is that the faction you played the most, and it's kind of like your favorite?
Yeah, like I'm an Orcs main and already told you how that happens and how an Orcs main plays Aeldari in WTC. But yeah, so Swooping Hawks, funnily enough, were my comfort pick in Ynnari. Like I played Ynnari until it got nerfed. So in Nordic Masters I was at 25 Swooping Hawks, and now you can see me with 0 in WTC, and and easy to criticize about that after the results. But the thinking behind that was that we needed me to play against Death Guard even with Plague Burst crawlers, and then we ended up facing 0 Plague Burst crawlers. There was like 49 in the tournament, but we faced 0, so lucky me cutting out the swooping hawks for nothing. So like I said, I'm not the first captain who has overthinked his own list. We ended up with War Host, basically because it feels like maybe a bit safer choice than Aspect Host, like with the double shoot and scoot and the fallback strat. But after list submission during the last trainings, it got clear to me that I need the table, so I'm not able to attack into most stuff stuck with the double wave serpent and them being quite bad at WTC terrain. So still we used me as an attacker on the linchpin, on the tipping point and the hammer and anvils, then defended with me in the crucibles, and then once again attacked or defended and attacked in the search and destroys. So it was a quite uneven ride. Performed against the Imperial Knights, as should have been. Little underperformance against the Votan, and then some. Okay, I got crushed by Olivier. That's no shame. I think at least I made him sweat for a while, but then he crushed me. But yeah,
a tricky matchup. But I gotta say though that I'm a bit impressed, or quite a bit impressed by Aeldari, just because they were so strong, and then I would say they fell off the meta a bit, and a big reason for that was the big knight meta and like big units in general. But in coming into this tournament, I think all the 3 teams of you except of Norway brought the Aeldari, and we have seen that Aeldari was a key factor for many teams for success, except especially I would say against these knights, etc. It must be still felt pretty good. You were one of the strong parts for Team Finland with it, even though Oliver with his Space Force is a tricky opponent to say the least.
Yeah, and we did 0 prep for the French round. And funny story that this is the 4th time out of 4 WTCs that Finland played the eventual winner in the pod phase. So big Finland in the draw, and you get to win the WTC. So like the Aeldari was definitely a right choice. That's clear. They was the right choice for the meta, but going War Host instead of Aspect Host was maybe a bit cowardish there. Should have been going all in with the swooping hawks in the Aspect Host, like attacking into the hull spam targets. But funnily enough, we didn't face any Plague Burst crawlers. We only faced 1 double knight teamed, and that was the Canadian triple Lancer build. So we faced a shitload of host of Ascensions, Astras, like 3 out of the 5 best Astra players in the world. Our Demons player got to play them all. Lucky him. So
Jonathan, would you have loved to bring Aeldari now come after the tournament, or do you think that was maybe not what Norway needed?
No, we spoke about it, and I don't think we really missed on Aeldari. Aeldari certainly was a good choice, but I think overall we were relatively happy with our composition. I don't think we were necessarily as pleased with all of our list, but I can talk about some of the details of why later. But I think Aeldari were definitely a good option. I'm not so sure we were upset we didn't bring them, but they definitely could have been brought and fit in perfectly well.
Gotcha. Jökull, anything you want to add about the Aeldari part before we move away from the lists and specific factions per se?
I think there are definitely, top 8, even maybe top 6. But I think they had our third strongest performance. We were very happy with them. I think even though that list didn't play into any nights, the threat of everyone having to scoot and flee away from our Aeldari helped the other matchups. And I agree with Jonas. I think Aspetos is slightly stronger, but I think both are strong. Both are good enough for 8s, so I think it's matter. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Alexander, I was thinking that we should go a bit about Denmark's run, but Aeldari, I don't know, did you even play a single Aeldari player?
Not in the WTC, but I did in Warmaster,
Understood.
where I had the honor of playing live from Team Germany in round 4, I believe.
And I think that Leif was one of the best performing Aeldari players in this tournament, actually. But let's jump over here and just quickly check Team Denmark's performance in this tournament and talk. You know, we can't break down all the whatever 100 games that you played, of course, but let's look a little bit at it at least. Let's see if we can get it over here. I mean, coming into this tournament, of course, you knew that USA would be the big threat. What were your things about like Bulgaria and Israel? I actually don't know the strength of the Bulgarian team, and it seems like it went fairly good, but it was not a huge win, if we could say it like that.
No, I think, well, just overall, the strategy we wanted, or what we wanted out of the pod was 2 solid wins, and then in a very ideal world, we would like to draw the US, but we were okay with losing to them. That is the reality of the situation. I think against Bulgaria, we just about managed to win. We got 9-1. And I think maybe there was a little bit of first game jitters to get out for some of the players arriving the day before. I know a few of the Bulgarians had played Warmaster or maybe just a little bit more ready. But we had prepared for all our games, and against Israel we got a very good win. And then we hit the wall.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
funny story is
Yeah, please go.
Denmark has actually played the US for the last 3 years at WTC. We've got our ass handed to us every single time.
And I was
It's always,
hyping you up.
always on stream with the entire nation watching, so it's especially embarrassing.
Oh no. Yeah, but I was hyping you guys up thinking that you could do a draw or even a win. And the reasoning for that was just that I felt that your team this year felt stronger than almost any year before. Do you agree with that and also coming out of the event?
I think our players on the player skill level is really strong. I mean, I've played all of the guys many times. We did a lot of prep work, and I think it's a really strong team. I think we maybe did not show the best of what the team could do at WTC, which is unfortunate, of course. But I believe a lot in the roster, and we did good in the events leading up to, and in scrims and the like. And then at the WTC itself, I think it was maybe a compositional or pairings issue. I know we had a few lists that made it hard for us to get all the matches that we wanted to get.
And is that something that you felt the team knew before, or it just came as a realization when you were seeing, oh, we're playing this, let's say, Austria team, or we're playing the Czechs or so on, and the pairing suddenly is not what you had hoped it to be?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think the very biggest offender was our 6 big Chaos Knights list. And we knew Knights were going to get hunted, but we still chose to bring it as our 8th army, and it had a rough go of it. And then the rest was a case of maybe discovering once we were down there that some things didn't quite work as well as we wanted them to. I mean, Warhammer is interesting, right? Because the meta is always evolving, and something that worked well a few weeks before the WTC can all of a sudden not work as well as you want it to.
It's crazy what happened, especially those last two types of week. Don't want to rush over it, but I think that if I would give, and you can agree or disagree, but I think that Austria, of course, being a home soul, I felt that they had a really strong list kind of across the board. I think Czechia was probably one of the overperformers or like one of the strongest teams in this tournament they caused troubles for many, to say the least. And Latvia actually were able to, in the end, squeeze out a bigger performance than all the four teams of this Nordic quad, which I think that very few could see. So big shout outs to George View and the rest one. But can we zoom in a bit on that last one? I didn't talk with you guys. I didn't follow the game, but does that give like a sour taste? Because Scotland, for sure, we know being one of the strongest C2 teams, but for sure a team that you guys wanted to beat at this WTC. Like, what happened? Like, where is fatigue? What was the reasons?
So just to go through it to give a little bit of context, I think for Denmark we had a few rounds that was just like a few points beneath the next differential. So we had two losses being 71 and 73 that were almost a draw. And then a round against Austria where we got a dead draw at 80 points that maybe was looking like it could have been a win. So definitely those were some tough rounds to swallow, where if things had gone ever so slightly better, then maybe we could have pulled ahead. And against Scotland specifically, you mentioned, that was our last round and we lost. We were 2 points away from the draw, which is, of course, a rough game to end it up. Now, luckily, the Scottish are completely lovely guys, all of them, and we had a really good time. So that definitely took some of the sour taste out of the mouth. I think it was probably just a case of them winning on the table. Actually, I think we were happy enough with our pairings. We got our Gene Stealer Colts player to play against Innes, which was fun. And he actually managed 3 points, which is I think more than what most people can get in that mirror against Innes specifically.
Sure.
So we were happy enough with that. And then we had a few games that were lost on the table, and that happens. And maybe on another day it would have swung the other way, but this time specifically it just didn't.
No, and I hear you, and I think it's also you did have a big win against Latvia, but I think Latvia ended up 1 point above you guys in the standings. So that's always WTC to you. I still think that you showed your team a great stellar performance. We do know Denmark being the HO Sigmar, I think it's back-to-back champions or something like that. I know you won this year, so we do know the talent pool of Danish Warhammer. And I think that, for the next year, you guys will come back even stronger. Let's connect back to that soon, but do want to jump over to you, Jökull, of course, and performance of Iceland. And to set it up, the interesting side is that your two losses is your first two rounds going up against Belgium and then Germany. I think Germany ended up second. Did Belgium end up fifth or sixth? I think something like that. But from that point, yes, you had some draws, quite many actually. But how is that going in against these two giants and then having such a upswing for the rest of the tournament, if you can say like that?
So we have once before prepped with a team, prepped to Scotland in 23, faced in round 1. Now we've prepped with Belgium, faced in round 1, so we're 2 for 2 on that. We actually had a scrim going that was very even, as like it was almost finished when the pairings happened. But yeah, do you want to talk about the games essentially, or the rounds a little bit maybe? Yeah.
Pick and choose what you think, but I think it's just interesting in the way that you did get 2 beats in the opening ones, and then you were just, I wouldn't say steamrolled because you had a few draws, but you for sure climbed your way back into a pretty great performance, being a seed-free team now, making it the top 20 for sure is great. And I think, Jökull, you said that now Team Iceland is C2 for next year.
Almost certainly. There's a small scenario where there's fewer teams and Thailand shows up where it's possible we're C3, but almost certainly C2. But to talk about the Belgium thing, so we have everyone on the team is good. Just everyone on the team is good, but there's only one Liam VSL.
Yeah.
We did not plan to, curtail our whole hold around just to accommodate Liam, and we just wanted to get most of our pairings good, and maybe someone would play Liam in a bad matchup or a good matchup, and that was just, okay. But we figured we were a little bit behind, but we had a chance because the scrim was going quite well. So we got offered the Aeldari mirror. We have Ben Tjøvin, which was a top 100 Eldar player. He had played the mirror before. He was confident in it. He actually went first, and he had 3 5-inch charges onto Liam's Swooping Hawks. If he makes one of them, all 3 attacked. He failed all 3.
Oh
and lost 20-0.
I feel that.
Oh, that's just very brutal to hear.
It's supply drop as well, so you really want to go second points. We lost 7 out of 8. I actually went second. I was the only one who went second, and also only one who won in that round. And then it's the disappearing markers. We got 6 of ours disappearing first. I thankfully didn't. I thankfully rolled mine disappearing last, but essentially it went from being maybe a 65 to a 70 point round to like a 50-point round, and that's just Warhammer. We wanted to roll the dice, and it didn't work out. But it would have been we needed a good day, but we didn't get a good day in that. We played against Germany. It was just, again, we offered the same scenario. Live Westerman on Eldar into our Eldar. And more or less the same thing happened. We got 20 again with that. But we also had our knight play against their knights and had a very nice draw. We were very much outclassed by Team Germany. I think they're might be considered the strongest team this year. Maybe you consider France even stronger. But my guy overextended a bit and got hit with the sorcerer with the Valkyrie Vortex. A little bit hard. But we had an epic duel, Bellacore against Magnus, hand-to-hand combat for 2 turns in the end. And,
that's amazing. All right, so and then you did go down deep into the tournament. You say I think South Africa did end up the very last of this tournament, if I'm not incorrectly.
Yes.
You did face Ireland, who I heard was having a pretty decent team this year, and then you were up against Jonathan's part. I think that's an interesting one to talk about from both of your perspective. Jonathan, what were your thoughts coming into this match versus Iceland?
We were just ready to smash and have fun, dude. Like, I don't know. We didn't. I'm not sure that's the best answer to you. We knew that Iceland, the last time we had played them was at the ETC, and I think they had smashed our faces off. I wasn't able to travel for that one, so I was ready to get my teeth into them. And I tried to suck some blood of Space Marines, but I forgot those little bastards were made of dust, and it was impossible.
And what were your thoughts, Jökull? How did this? Was it 81-79, meaning a draw, or what did the match actually end up with?
Yeah, it was a draw.
Yeah. I think we were 81, 83 or something like that. So we were a little bit disappointed. We had a very good match against Norway in March. I think we won 5 or 6 tables, but we got absolutely smashed. I don't remember if it was our Votan player or Knights player, but one of our players faced one of your Knights players and got absolutely smashed. I think it may have been that Knights mirror 18-2 or something like that. Yeah.
I think that sounds right. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
The weird thing, even our Knight player ended up tabling the other one, but still lost 18-2, which I think was very impressive on points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I do also want to connect back to what you say with supply drop. I think Team Sweden had a very similar experience against United Nations, which was your last opponent. And I know that what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago, announced the Väisälä TTS League Season 4. So anyone listening here, make sure to sign up for that one. I know we do a bit wonky with the Games Workshop maps, but I think it would be an interesting one. But Jesper did remove supply drop completely from the mission pool, and I can see
Howard.
Jökull being happy. I can see Alexander being happy. Is it just a bad map? Is it, if you need to have it, good to have it in the first one? I mean, it punished you guys tremendously, Jökull. Like, is supply drop just bad?
Well, it's something with Iceland because we actually did face Denmark last year. We went first on 7 out of 8 tables again.
Did you?
So we had a lovely match against Denmark, but we knew that was going to be an uphill battle because we heard about how many roll-offs. So we had our coach like walk and tell us, and we were like, 1. Okay, well, this will be interesting. Yeah, but.
I think the only solution is you just have to play armies that wipe the opponent, right? That is not an issue.
But we can say though, or would you agree? I mean, I think this is an interesting question, and any one of you chip in on this one. With the mission pack of 2025-2026 compared to Pariah Nexus, I felt at least that the game is more going towards being a Warhammer than Point Hammer, meaning that you actually do want to wipe your opponents, or do you feel that that's an incorrect statement?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's definitely pushed into that direction. I think anyone who has eyes can see that from a points perspective, you're generally going to get an advantage from going second. But if you go first, you have such a massive advantage of grabbing board control that you're definitely put into more of a position where like you absolutely can punish your opponent's models. So I would say, because I just did a whole like breakdown of this, but I think there's definitely a points advantage going second, but you've got such a massive board presence advantage of going first, which is why a lot of people hate supply drop, because that kind of like flips it on its head. Because in supply drop, people feel like you've got the board advantage when you go second, which is kind of counter to what you would expect on most of your other maps. So I think that's why you tend to get like this inherent hatred of supply drop, which I don't share. I actually like supply drop. I actually do like it. But yeah, I would say that with the introduction of all of our challenger cards, GW has basically said, hey, don't try to win by 2 points because we're going to make sure that the people who are losing get free points. So get bloodthirsty, nerds. If I'm not mistaken, that's exactly what they wrote in their scripture. I'm pretty sure I read that.
Any more on that one, Alexander? You agreed partially, maybe partially not?
I think it's an interesting discussion. I think it's generally incredibly healthy for the game to have advantages to going first and advantages to going second. And I think in theory it's healthy to have missions such as supply drop that incentivize you to go second. We've also had stuff like Purge the Foe that was quite go first, go second dependent. I think, like Jonathan says, the additions of challenger cards really pushes that in a terrible direction. I think they're actually very unhealthy for the game. I think just the gameplay loops you get into where you are actively counting points and sometimes even discarding low-scoring secondaries to make sure that your opponent does not get a challenger card. Sometimes it's not even worth contesting an objective because where it used to be a 5-point swing, it's now only a 2-point swing because the guy just gets 3 on challenger card. That's quite ridiculous. And I do think, just to wrap it back to supply drop specifically, I think it's good to have a mission that is out there a little bit, but there probably should be some more control to the player going first, just to avoid those situations where you have an army that is maybe not really built to go first, or at least stronger when going second, and then you end in this terrible situation where you're going first on the mission where it is the worst to go first. And that can just happen on 7 out of 8 tables.
Yeah,
so
I think that swing is just brutal when you have that many tables on it. I do think, to your point there, that what I saw a lot was people discarding their first round of secondaries to just for the CP because they rather have one more CP than 2 extra points. I also think, completely different topic, but I didn't understand that it was good against knights to play actually fixed with assassination and bring it down, and in that way
Get
you
challenger cards.
and it was just a way of farming the challenger cards, and in that way you get back into it. Jonathan, you did not agree, and I think even Johnny, you don't think that that's a solution?
I think it makes sense, especially if you just want to farm those challenger cards. But I think it only makes sense for an army, kind of like T-Suns, like an army that actually you can't expect to kill knights. Like if you're gonna draw assassinate and bring it down, you better be damn well sure you're gonna kill knights. And like I did an entire video on the mathematics of how to kill a knight, and newsflash, not every army can actually just kill knights. So like, I think that's a great way to just like guarantee you're getting 0 on, or 4 or whatever, like 10 points on secondaries if you're playing one of those armies who struggles into killing knights. But if you're playing an army that absolutely can pick up the big knights, like if you have an Avada Kedavra up your butt, then it's like, yeah, okay, it makes sense to definitely do fixed in that scenario because you get all the challenges for sure.
But I think it's an unhealthy play pattern, right? Because if you go fixed against knights, then you are basically telling them, you can try to play this game, you can try to get on the board and grab secondaries. I do not care at all. I'm gonna sit behind my ruins and wait for you to come to me and not score any points, get challenger cards every single round. That's 12 points. And then in the very last turn, maybe the turn before that, I'm gonna kill a knight, I'm gonna kill maybe 2 knights, and I'm almost certainly gonna outscore you. And if you try to do something about it early, then you are taking an unfavorable engagement. And that is just horrible for the knight player. As much as we hate knights, and I think everybody hates knights right now, I think in exactly that one scenario, I do have a little bit of sympathy.
No, but I think you have a very good point there in the way that I have not really been part of the fixed meta. I know many wants to play it, but I do find that you can skew your list and the way you play it into something that's fairly boring. So I just thought it was an interesting one. Just finishing it off there, Jökull, with your run here against Malta and United Nation, I think that maybe that was pretty convenient matches for you guys, even though actually Malta did drew. But did you do like the perfect submarine? And is that a great way of like the last 2 days bringing home those wins and draws? Or did the team feel a bit still you could have done even better? Or were you guys happy?
We were overall pretty happy. So we struggled a little bit with our volatile list. It struggled more into knights than we assumed.
Many did. Sweden also.
Definitely. But I mean, we played against Malta, and yet again we won 5 or 6 tables. We got blown out by their extremely talented Demons player who took fixed, engage, and homer. He had 50 pink horrors and 3 ACDC blocks and played that so well.
What a boss.
He skipped a ton of activations just to not clock out, which I thought was quite cool.
Wow.
But yeah, so we played UNA and yeah, the pairing went really well there. We had our World Eaters play against their Elda, which is very favorable for us. We got Death Guard into the T-Zones, which is very favorable to us. I got to play Necrons, which is horrible for the Necrons, and so I think we kind of won that little bit on the pairing. But I don't know, we were a little bit disappointed with Belgium, how that one went, and Ireland, Norway, and Malta. We won most of the games in all 3, but we drew all 3 as well from blowouts, and then maybe that's us looking to consistency next time around. But that's Warhammer, of course. And all 3 teams played very well.
Yeah. I think from my point of view, seeing that you guys had such a rough start and then ending up 19th, I think is a great achievement, especially as Iceland is a very small country. We know yourself with your StarCraft 2 background and also how great your Warhammer players are. I think is still a really great achievement. And crossing fingers, I think that you guys probably will be C2 for next year, which is really cool. we I wouldn't say short on time, but maybe we can extend a little bit. We don't want to rush through Norway's and Finland's run for sure, but let's head into it directly here, Jonathan. And I guess you guys started off somewhat of a disappointment in Slovakia, or what is your view on that one?
So let me preface this real quick. So we knew going into this WTC that we were going to have a tough year. Last
Big
year we made it
C2.
to exactly. So last year we knew we made it into C2. We had the best performance we've ever had. This was my third year attending. So the first year that I was there, we actually had the best performance ever. And then last year we had an even better performance. So we're really, really riding it hot. We kind of had a little bit of a disaster where we had an issue with our captain. So we did not have a captain this year.
Gotcha.
And that was a big problem, especially since we also at the same time had 4 brand new players. Which, by the way, shout out to those guys. I'm very proud of the way they performed. They really took it all in stride. But we didn't have a leadership system in structure. Our vice captain, thank goodness, stepped up. But it was still a big problem where we didn't have anyone like dictating factions and saying, no, you can't take this list. It was basically a bunch of us advanced guys, not advanced, more experienced guys, just trying to prepare them, but we had no real authority of how to prepare their list for them. So we definitely had several lists that we should not have brought, but we didn't have a leadership structure in place to say, no, you have to play this list, or no, you have to play this list. So we knew that we were going to struggle. The Slovakia, we know the Slovakian guys really real. Shout out to all my happy crumpers. One of their vice captain has actually been in there for a long time. So great friends with them. So Richard, you're a rock star. He's the guy who wore the top hat. So if anyone who saw him at the WTC, you knew he was off. So we kind of expected we would beat Slovakia. We've beaten them in scrims before, so we were a little bit disappointed in the draw. But the reality is, bro, they're trying to beat us too. You know what I mean? The draws are gonna happen, right? Cyprus, we kind of expected we would get a win, and we did get a win. Then we ran into Australia, and this is the second year in a row that we had Australia in the pod phase, and we're actually very, very pleased with how we did in Australia. This is going to sound kind of weird, but we were the best performing loser into Australia this year, and we actually doubled our results into them from what we had last year. So we're actually very, very happy with that. We doubled our results. I was blessed to actually get on stream against them. Had an awesome game. Had a blast. Shout out to Jez. Really enjoyed getting to play with him. So we were pretty excited. Even though we lost in Australia, we're actually quite happy the fact that we literally doubled our score from last year into them. So that was a very, very cool experience.
And I think Australia was really strong this year. Always tricky to judge them. I think that they ended up 6th in this tournament, so I don't think that that's a shame at all. And then it was time for China, which I actually would have loved to stream and watch that all, because I think it's a great nation, really interesting match. You need to speak a couple of minutes almost about it, Jonathan, with China.
Yeah, man. So honestly, straight up, first off, China rocked. And one of the funniest things in the world is that our Imperial Knights player, which is hilarious, is our smallest human being physically. He's pocket sized. His name is Victor, and we love him. And he got to swap shirts with one of the Chinese, and he got a double XL, which fit him perfectly, which was hilarious. So, but yeah, it was pretty darn funny, dude. I had to say it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it PC.
No, I think it was funny. Anyway, so we're playing the game. Everyone's just loving their opponents. We all had an absolute blast. I found it very funny that for our team, the one American on our team was playing the one American on their team for our matchup, which was fun. Shout out to Chris, had a blast with him. We knew China was actually performing really, really well. I think this is one of the rounds where my perception of how I had to perform really shot us in the foot. Because I knew we had so many newer guys on the team, I was feeling the need to perform more. So instead of going for the 12 into his 18 race, which is what I should have, 12 to 14, I was trying to go for the 18, and I ended up getting us a 9, which is a big miss, and that really cost us the draw and put us into lost territory. So there's a lot that I took away from this particular WTC personally, and I just figured maybe I should share that out here because that's something that I feel like a lot of people need to hear. Because if I've experienced it, I promise you other people have experienced it as well. Where sometimes, even if it's not arrogance, it can just be like false pressure that we put on ourselves to perform a little bit too much. It is a team effort. You do have to be able to rely on your team a little bit. And when you put yourself in those scenarios like I did, you can set your team up actually for disappointment, which is exactly what I did.
I think maybe you're a bit harsh also against yourself, to be honest, because I also think that without having a strong structure and a captain being there from the full season, having a couple of new players and maybe feeling that you don't have the right composition of factions, I think there is also one part where you need your strongest players to overperform, because that will push you into potential wins. And then, because if you delivered what you expected to deliver, no one would have blamed you at all. They would like just cheer. And then sometimes things don't work out. I think that that's one of the dynamics that are really interesting in that one. We talked about the Icelandic match. You did face both Thailand and New Zealand. Thailand being one of the most hype nations coming into this one. I actually don't know where they ended up, and New Zealand maybe being a bit weaker than without David
Yep.
Gaylord, but you did get a bad beat, but you did get a beat there in the end, just very slightly from a draw. Was that a bit disappointing? Was that okay, given how the tournament had kind of panned out and where you felt you and your team were?
Where we ended up, to be honest with you, was right where I expected us to end up. I talked it over with a couple of the guys, and we all figured this is about what was going to happen. What we were hoping would happen is that we would maybe get one overperformance so that we could hold on to our seed 2. I think we probably failed to hold on to the seed 2. It's okay. We understood where we were this season, and like I said, all of the new guys, we had a brand new Tyranid player, and we did not pressure him enough to not bring subterranean assault. That was a huge mistake. We should have just dropped the hammer and be like, we can't do subterranean assault. But dude, with what he had and the adversity he faced in that tournament, he was a rock star. So we're so grateful for him. We had a Death Guard player who was a brand new Death Guard player. He had only played it for like, I don't know, a month, right? So we're really grateful for him picking up. He performed really well. This is his first time at this level of competition as well. Our Necrons player, he knew that he brought the wrong army, but even when he was only getting losses and draws, he just pivoted really well for us. We said, hey, man, we know that you can't perform what you expected, so we need you to get us draws. And so he did. From that point on, he just said, great, I'm going to go in with this mindset of giving us draws. And he was a great team player. He did an awesome job doing that. So we are so proud of those new guys, and they rocked it. But we knew, we knew we were going to have to lick our wounds this year. And I think that's about what happened. So we've got a really great structure in for next year. We know how we're going to return to that seed 2, which we earned the previous year, and we're actually in a really comfortable and confident place right now.
Yeah, and I mean, not only having yourself, also I think Victor performing really well, and of course, maybe one of your strongest playing in Sheffield had a really hard end of the tournament, but typically is maybe arguably one of your strongest, if not the strongest Norwegian player.
Yeah, so that was a big problem with pairings, which is something that we also found was a big issue. We probably need to change up our way of doing pairings, because I know with Shettel in particular, he got 20-0'd, and then he got like 19-1 in like 3 rounds in a row. But the problem is that in all of those matches, he had a positive pairing except for on one map, and in each one of those matches, he got the exact map that he specified that he didn't need. So we're going to have to take a look about how our pairing system is going, and we're going to correct it. Everyone is going to identify something that they're struggling with at a tournament like this, and that's really, I think, where our biggest struggling was how we're approaching pairings. So we're going to try a new system this coming year, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. I'm excited to talk about it a little bit, but we got some stuff cooking.
That's amazing. And before we go over to Jouni and Team Finland to also go through their run, I think that Jonathan pointed out some extremely important points here for all aspiring players trying to get into a WTC team. But I think also in general, when you show up to your team tournaments, is that it's not only about the faction choices, the army choices, the position of attacker, defenders, etc. It's also a lot about tables and actually skewing your different lists. So as always with Warhammer 40k, it's tremendously complex. And I would say that if we look at Sweden, for example, they have had a 3-year of rebuild and still were able to get the 4th place. But that's strong, given how quickly this scene is, going up. I think that they felt confident. If they would have faced anyone in 2023, they would have won that tournament. This year they came fourth. I think that just shows how fast and how explosive it is and how much in the details it goes into. All right, Jouni, sorry for keeping you waiting here. I think that one part, just to set it up very quickly, you guys, maybe out of all these 4 teams, had the hardest run and path. And I know that you said that you didn't even prepare against France, the champions.
Yeah, so by the price of playing France in the pod, we got to play 2 tier 4 nations, as it was the funny pod. It wasn't that easy though, as Korea and Slovenia both were quite unfamiliar to us. We have no idea what to expect. Like the lists are a bit funky, and there was an interview about the Slovenian captain in Contact Lost. Of course, we tried to take over all the information we could, and yeah, zero prep into France. Like there's nothing to win, nothing to lose there. At least I got Oliver's shirt, so something to come home with, a shirt smelling of winning, and like. The Slovenian and South Korean round went well. Big wins out of those. Good confident boost out of the pod. We are already halfway to our target of 8 team points. And then on round 4, we managed to beat Czechia, which ended up in 11th place. So
very strong team this year, yeah.
Yeah, the biggest win of our tournament. Like we prepped quite well for Terraform. I think we went first on half of the board, so it was quite even. And the funny acronym I tried to tell earlier was that Czechia went second 8 out of 8 in their first round in supply drop. So they got a bit lucky there. But in Terraform, we like paired well and took the points, and like the coaching team did extraordinary good job there, like giving the exact right information to the players needed for those points. And the last game going on, we got the exact 8 we needed for the one point win. So that was a solid.
Wow, I didn't notice that. And I mean, I think you're bringing up also another aspect, how important it is in the 8-team environment to get that information so you can calculate those very last points the right way. Important big wins against Czechia. And then you were up against Switzerland, and the only thing I know is that they also did a fantastic year, and I think William, if I'm not incorrect, on the CSM was one of the best performers both in War Masters and WTC. That game you were able to get a draw, correct? Almost a perfect draw?
Yeah, 80-80 against Switzerland, the draw machine. Yeah, and William, he's the half-meter shorter version of Liam. So almost the same looking guy with almost the same skill level of play. Like he's super solid. He totally destroyed our Nids player with his Renegade Raiders. But yeah, 80 perfect draw there, and 7 points. One day to go. So we were almost at our target.
Exactly.
8 team points.
And tell me now, like with your Finnish team, you had some newcomers. You also had some returning, can we say, legends like Yuppie. He came back, correct?
Yes.
And then you're going up against Canada and Portugal in those last 2 rounds. 2 teams that we know did exceptionally well this tournament. I think Portugal was seed 4 and ended up, where did they? Almost at 11, 12, 13th place, which of course is a stellar performance. But Jouni, you must have felt that you really had the chance of doing a tremendously great tournament with these 2 opponents. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, so going into day 4, of course, the endurance, like the durability comes into play at that point. Like 30 degrees Celsius outside, 40 inside. Finnish people, 4 out of the fourth day of playing, or the how many eighth day of playing for the guys who did War Masters. Like yeah, maybe the appetite for going to the 8 points, 9 points, even top 10, of course, was there. But Canada won us in the pairings. Like they had a separate pairing team, a non-playing captain, and a coalition of people that have been doing the pairings all night, probably. Like they outpaired us by defending with Skari's Drukhari on second defend, something that we didn't expect at all. Like the lineup was so given that they will attack with the double knights and with the double jail being the Drukhari and host of Ascension. But they switch it around and then they got us. And then we went all in pushing on tables from turn 1 basically and ended up losing that one. So going into round 7, Portugal was actually Team Finland's only win last year. Like you said, they were tier 4 and now they went tier 2 probably or like top 20. And of course we knew that Gustavo is one of the strongest players in the world at this point, and maybe we overthought about that a little bit in the pairings and maybe ended up pressing the self-destruction button by that, not attacking him with Eetu, protecting Eetu, trying to get him even a better matchup, and he ended up playing their Death Guard in the refused pairing, and Team Finland doesn't win rounds if Eetu gets into a bad matchup. So.
And Eetu was for sure your best performing player of this tournament. Let's see, he played World Leaders, right? Or am I stupid now?
Yeah, he played World Leaders. He was testing World Leaders already in the index step, like as a balancing factor for his Necrons, that he's a Necron specialist and been playing them for the last 3 WTCs, I think. And he actually got inspired by the Danish the World Leader list in Nordic Masters and picked that one up and made some adjustments, putting in the 3 units of spawn. I think the Danish version didn't have any spawn to start with, and like he crushed all the practice games basically with it and crushed 5 out of 7 games. Lost to Sacco and then to the Portuguese Death Guard player. I don't recall his name. I'm sorry.
No, I think it was. And also talking about Marcus Jensen, your teammate there, Alexander, for sure one of your strongest players and also world eaters this tournament. Surprisingly, given that everyone said the Codex was shit, it came out to be this best performer. But Marcus actually did struggle a bit more than I think most of us would have anticipated. How was that seeing your teammate? Because normally Marcus is leading Team Denmark when it came to getting those points on his world leaders.
Yeah, definitely. No, Marcus is a really, really talented player, especially on melee armies. That is 100% his comfort pick. And he actually really pioneered this type of world leader list that runs 20-man berserkers, which is quite unique. And his results ended up being quite funny. He got 20, then 19, then 0, then 2, then 20 again, and then 12 and 8. So I think he obviously crushed in the beginning in our early rounds, and then he hit John Lennon on Emperor's Children, and that is a very, very, very tight execution game. And there were some short charges or some short advances, or just ended up going wrong on the table, as it sometimes does. And he ended up losing that game completely. And from then, I can't quite say. I think maybe that was a little bit of blow to the confidence, or maybe, yeah. At least the list was struggling a little bit more after that, and was very, very swingy, both winning us rounds and losing us rounds. I think think that's the nature of the game. It's
Yeah.
Warhammer is very much an endurance sport as well, right? You can take a loss, you can even take a big loss, and a lot of the game is how well can you get back on that horse. And I know by the end of the tournament, his matrix was either 15 plus or 5 or less every single matchup, which is reflected in the scores. So I guess that's just how it is.
Can I just elaborate a little bit about some wisdom you just dropped, which I'm not sure everyone heard? Warhammer is an endurance sport. I have won majors because at the 6th round, I'm still able to walk around and check the positions of my opponent's models. Where some of my opponents, they're needing to sit down, their feet are hurting, their back's hurting, they're not walking around anymore. I've won multiple tournaments because of this. Like, this is an endurance sport. And just real fast, a huge shout out to tons of the players at the WTC I'm so proud of, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but like, people are, for the first time in my experience in 40K, actually starting to pay attention to their health. Like, I saw like freaking Brian Sipey, Team America, one of the most lovely men alive that you'll ever meet. He's dropped like 100 pounds. Schetzel from my team, he's dropped like 100 pounds. You've got I don't want to call his name because I'm not sure he wanted me to talk about it, but you got one of the guys from Team Scotland who has just dropped about 50 pounds and he's looking amazing. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm really, really excited to see it. And I think it's leading to a lot better play as well. Because like, being relatively fit and able to just walk around the table is a big darn deal. So I'm really proud of a lot of the people at the WTC, because it was the healthiest looking WTC I've ever attended. And that was awesome. That was really sick.
Last year, I lost a round at War Master because I did not walk around the table, and I did not see that my opponent had 10-5 Sephirim behind a ruin. I got heroic intervened. That's never going to happen again.
No, yeah, exactly.
No, but it is exceptionally a brutal tournament, and I think that always you guys are, I call you Warhammer samurais, because it's both mentally and physical taxing. And I think that people who haven't really played a Warhammer match or even a tournament understand actually how beaten up you are and what's needed. So I think that we will have, as you pointed out there, Jonathan, probably somewhat that people needs to do more physical activation to keep up, and it's not only about the brain. It's like, it's hard to play with that one. I know we are a bit at the time we said, but let's keep it going a little bit more, and please state your questions in the YouTube and Twitch chat. So I think one interesting way, and I think this was one probably of the biggest takeaway Jonathan had, but Jökull, like, for you and your team, getting a good performance, most likely going up in Seed 2. I saw the spreadsheet you shared. I don't know if we need to put it on because there's just too much going on. But what are the biggest takeaway that you had and your team had from this WTC 2025?
So we tried leaning back a little bit from last year. So last year we had a coach and we were constantly doing estimations and telling people to push. And like, we looked at it and like 5 out of 7 games, almost everyone was told to push because it was really close. And like, if you look at who were our 7 opponents, you wouldn't even need to know the board state to know that it's probably going to be close at the end of it. And do we bother people over and over and have them estimate and have a person running around and filling it? Like, we just start skipping that. People were told that, like, I mean, maybe except for Germany and South Africa, expected to be close, play your best, you know, and that was very nice. Yeah, we were very happy to have someone with us who wasn't playing. Shout out to Kauri for coming to coach with us. So it was quite warm. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I was quite happy with most of the things. I think Iceland is what, 20 times fewer people than the average Nordic country here. It's not, by a little amount, it's 20 times. So like, we have someone who is really good on Chaos Knights, and we have a player that's really good on Sisters, and we have a player that's been really good on Death Guard or T-Sons. Not me. I mean, the Death Guard player is really like good on that. So like we hit most of the factions that we knew we had good players on, and so I think it's unlikely that will also happen next year. But I don't know. It's just a very nice group of guys.
Amazing
And we're
to
getting
hear.
more into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and big congratulations to, where did we say, 19th, right?
Yeah.
19th place, and I hope that if you are an Icelandic player and listening to this, get in contact with Jökull and Heider and the rest of it, because we need more Warhammer players that also can keep on delivering these great results from it. Going over to you, Jouni, what's your takeaways from this tournament? You mentioned some, but if you would point out one of the key takeaways from you and Team Finland.
Yeah, like we were half a win, like one step from our goal, and looking the 8-point teams, they finished 10th to 15th, like the mark we want to be reaching for that top 10 spot once again. And I think that the effort was there, but like just the last step was missing. The quality of the practice games for some individuals, the number of practice games for some, the quality of the scrims, or the overall picture of the army choices, the table preps. We need more 8 people, practice weekends, good quality scrims. Like that's the takeaway. To succeed in the 8-mans, you need to practice more 8-mans. Like playing singles on Windrollos medium tables doesn't teach you to go to the WTC and win those rounds.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that what's really exciting is how the Finnish scene is growing tremendously right now. And as you said, some new players, some returning players, and I know you wanted even a better result, but I still think for Finland this is for sure a step forward. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, 6 spots to the right direction. So next year maybe 16 and the best improving team. Latvia took basically there was a mistake in the final award ceremony. Latvia was the best improving team, and we beat them twice in a scrim, and we went to Riga Rumble and won their home tournament. So we are happy for them, but of course we are a little bit of envious to their run. So next year, hopefully, we get to face them in a round and crush them and be the most improving team. Kisses and hugs to George.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Alexander, of course, being the best player individually in the World Tournament. I see here in the Twitch chat you're getting a lot of celebrations and shout-outs. But what was your biggest takeaway? Maybe you mentioned it before a bit, but just make sure in that question, because I think it's a good question.
Yeah, no, I think as with every WTC, there is a lot to learn. We in Team Denmark did a lot of prep this year. We had more events than we are used to, physical events with a lot of people traveling. We had a lot of scrims and leagues we were participating in. And we went so far as to have made matrices and looked through a list of every single seed 1 and 2 country, as to not have to do all of that in between rounds. And we fell a little bit short. I think the biggest takeaway is that we probably need more people involved outside of just the 10 to 14 people who were like involved with the team this year. I think it's it's very easy to build a little bit of an echo chamber with your players. You play each other a lot. You play all each other's lists all the time. And sometimes you can develop a meta that's very specific to your exact country. And I think maybe we got a little bit surprised on the table in a lot of the games when we came to the actual WTC. And I know that Denmark, as well as many other countries, have in the past been incredibly successful when they have had direct partnerships with other nations, and they've worked together. So I think that's probably one thing that we as a nation will look into a lot more for next year. And other than that, I think this year we had a very busy schedule, so there was maybe a little bit less time for socializing and for team days and all that kind of stuff. And I think maybe that's one thing we'll focus a little bit more on next year, because WTC is about having fun. So I think we'll try to go for that next year.
Exactly. I think that's one of the only downsides, is that when you're playing in a tournament, you actually don't have the time to go around and meet everyone, because it's early mornings and then it's night, and if you're lucky, you can get some time over dinner or over a beer or two. But in general, it's the opponents that you meet in those matches that is the big one. So I think socialize is a really important one, and I think that. Yeah, I gotta say it, Alexander. I had the higher hopes on your team, just because I think you are a very competent team for sure. With that said, you did a very stellar performance here, and I think that also thank you everyone who's like giving a lot of shout outs. I hope this one has been a good show. Jonathan, maybe we don't need to end exactly now, but I do want to pass it back to you, because you for sure are a big, I would say, voice in this community, also a big voice in trying to get people from, can we say, that rookie stadium, getting into the 2,000 points, into the tournament scene. It's like, I think what we can see with all these four countries, maybe Jökull has a higher challenge because there are not too many Icelandic people in general. But I think including with Sweden, we need more Warhammer players because the competition is rising. We know that France, the number one back-to-back winner, they have a league of 204 8-man teams playing. And you know, that's more teams than what Jökull have probably Warhammer players by almost 10x, to be honest. Like, it's crazy to see. But Jonathan, like, any thoughts, any takeaways, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that people should start to really just to grasp is that Warhammer, just like every single hobby in the world, requires practice. You know, most people tell you that when you run social media, you should never read the comments. But I read one really dumb comment once and it made me giggle. And they said that, well, you guys talking about, like, if you have to practice to be good with toys, then you need to get a life. And I'm like, all right, yeah. Basically, that means anyone who ever wants to practice to be good at guitar should just get a life. You know, anyone who dares to be better at cooking should just get a life. Like, it's just one of the most dumb things I've ever heard. But I was actually really glad to read the comment because it was so true. For those of you who don't know my background, I was I fought mixed martial arts. I was a professional Muay Thai fighter for a little while. Well, guess what? I didn't enjoy practice as much as I liked fight night. But I still liked practice, and if I didn't practice, I wouldn't enjoy fight night, you know? So that's kind of the way that I think we have to really approach 40K. A lot of you guys who are learning the game and getting better at the game, the best recommendation I can give you is to practice what you're trying to get better at. Just playing a game isn't necessarily going to be getting you better at the game. Practice what you're trying to get better at. Do you suck at deployment? Do a deployment, play round one, see where you are in the game. If you know you've already lost the game because you can just see you've been completely outmaneuvered, start over, redo that deployment, right? And I think that's something that teams really teaches very, very well. And it's something we on Team Norway did not particularly practice as much this year. Our guys put in a lot of reps, but we didn't do necessarily focus reps and working on individual skills, right? So that's something that we did not do as much this year, and I think it showed in our performance. So if there's any takeaway I can go, it is focused practice, practice the skills you're trying to get better at. And it's the skills at Warhammer 40,000. The skill would be, it gets broken down. And and I'll do more videos on that, I can promise you. But there are skills that you have to develop. And so there you go. I think that's probably my big takeaway.
Awesome to hear. And for me, I would just add, don't be too afraid. Get on that table. Try out that TTS. Just get the dice going. Even if you're playing Combat Patrol, 750 points, 1,000 points, it takes time to get to 2,000 points. And on that one, best way to get it painted, sign up to a tournament, because then you're forced to at least get it better ready. Big shout outs also here from Oliver to Jouni and Team Finland. You guys did so well and made you guys proud. Good comment also here from CJF Papa, that maybe we didn't talk about the partnership between Team Sweden and Finland, France. Sorry for that. I think it will come up a bit more. We have a couple of videos coming up here at Väisla. I think one with Jesper, the captain, together with Jóhannsson. Also apologize to Björn Eriksson, the best performing player of Team Sweden. I know you wanted to be on this show, but we are at 1 hour and 45 minutes, and I almost feel a bit stupid against our guest here for holding them back. But I think that if you have some questions, keep on checking those out. Join the Väisla Discord and talk with all these gentlemen. We hope to be able to bring you a lot more content, but also a lot more competitions. Like I said, the TTS League is up right now. I know also that Denmark released one just here a couple of days ago too. Do want to make one more last round just with all of you guys. If you have something more you want to add, some shout out, let's talk with you, Jökull. And once again, congrats on that great performance.
Thanks. I think maybe the one thing I want to mention is our plan for Belgium. Remember first when we were thinking about prepping with Scotland, we talked about what we faced in round one. I mean, and that was something that came up, and we didn't hesitate even after having faced Scotland round one. But this year we did play each other round one, but overall Belgium went up, improved 7 spots between this year and last year, and is now seed 1, and we improved 10 spots between last year and now seed 2 instead of seed 3. Even, I mean, it doesn't matter if you play round 1. It's round 1. It's not the most important round of the tournament, and same thing. I mean, you can hide some information, but like, we were a seed 3 team. Who cares about what we think? At this point. So I don't know. I think we have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So I think I'd recommend teams do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jökull, and I think it's a great insight. And just to clarify, what everyone has referred to is that actually you share all your knowledge and insight, because typically the patch before, and especially when the patch is out, everything goes kind of dark and you don't try to share anything for the WTC. But if you have a practice partner, just like Iceland had with Belgium, you kind of are transparent and share everything, and you try these lists because you need to increase your talent pool and to just get more reps in and more thoughts. I'm right on that one, right, Jökull?
We even went as far as helping each other out against Team Germany, and Belgium actually got a draw into Team Germany. So, I mean, it's just no one can play 40K every day, 24 hours. So even the best players have good info on some factions and not others, and it's just it's a collective thing for sure.
100%. Jouni, Team Finland, I don't think you did a bad performance. You came 24th you were seed 3, right? Or am I saying seed 2? I'm always forgetting.
Seed 3 and continuing with it.
So still trending upwards, but I know you want a lot more. Any last word, shout-outs that you want to give to the community, people who wants to apply to Team Finland for next year, or whatever you'd like to say?
Shout out to Ruud from Netherlands and Mason from Poland, inviting Team Finland to ETC and the Eurotrash and Pyra. We didn't go. We didn't fit them into the schedule. We should have. Maybe that's the difference maker. Going to that 8-man tournament. We did Nordic Masters, but then the meta shifted right after that. So go to those 8-mans when you get invited.
Absolutely. Jonathan, Team Norway. I know that you made up to C2 this time. Couldn't really defend that one, but you kind of elaborated. Any last shout outs? Anything you want to say?
Absolutely. The WTC is by far and away my favorite tournament in the world. I enjoy the WTC more than the WCW, which is the singles world championships, which, by the way, I love that tournament as well. Don't get me wrong. The WTC is the coolest place in the freaking world. You do not need to ever worry about watching your opponent's dice. You do not ever need to worry about anything because every single person there loves good, clean Warhammer, and it is a blast against every opponent you're gonna play. So, if there is a goal to play high quality Warhammer, that's it in my brain. So, get involved with your country's teams, see what you have to do to qualify, sign up as a coach to help out if you're trying to make the teams. But get involved because the WTC is the most fun freaking experience in Warhammer.
Amazing, amazing. And last but not least, we said it several times, but I think we can continue repeating it, Alexander, being the best performing player of this WTC individually. Denmark, I believe, did we say 18th place? I know that you guys wanted it more, but it's still not a bad performance. Any last words, any shout outs that you want to do? Oh, maybe you're muted now?
Oh, sorry.
No
Should be
worries.
back now. Yeah, a huge shout out to our captain, Mr. Richard Grint, who put in just a huge amount of effort this year, setting up scrim and travel and matrices and a lot of the admin work that makes it so much fun for the rest of us to actually play Warhammer. And I'll just say, if you are a Danish player who has no clue how the WTC or how the national team works, which was me a few years ago, then by all means, we have a Discord server that is incredibly active. We're in the process of rebuilding all our platforms a little bit. We have a Facebook site where you can find us. You can write if you have any questions, if you want to get involved. And otherwise, in a few months, we have our biggest Danish tournament, which is where we actually select the national team. The winning team gets to set it, and that's a community event where we have 40 teams in Denmark of 5 players that get to play, and that is basically the entire scene, it's a huge joy to see everybody, and I can't wait to play some good Warhammer with all the people there.
Amazing. And saying that you didn't know some years ago, and where you had your stellar performance last year, being one of the top placing players, and this year again, like, how can people tap into this knowledge? How did you do it? Do you have anywhere where people can ask you questions or whichever it might be? Because you for sure have shown that you can come into this scene and doing a big splash.
Yeah, I think for that the very best place is the Team Denmark Discord server where all the players are on. It's where we are running the TTS League, like you mentioned, and that's a great starting off point for everybody who has an interest in joining the competitive scene.
Amazing. So once again, thank you so much, all 4 of you, for standing out for this 2 hour where I tricked you guys, I guess. Didn't mean to run it so long, but I think it was a very interesting one, and I hope that everyone around the world listening into this one learned a bit more about Warhammer 40k, and especially the Nordic different teams and their stellar performance at the World Team Championship. Of course, shout out to Fat Shark. Check out those Darktide and Vermintide games, amazing Warhammer games. Alpha Spel, the largest retailer of Warhammer in the Northern Europe. So please tune into that one. And if you pass by in Stockholm, check in there and come by and play some Warhammer for sure. And other games, they have board tables and everything that you need for your hobby. Scree, tremendous supporter of Warhammer 40K and Team Sweden tech company from Sweden, and Asus ROG, of course. I think you all know that brand, but make sure to check out especially the Strix Scar 18 computer that we broadcast everything from at the WTC. So thank you so much, and gentlemen, amazing having you on this one. And once again, sorry for it being a bit long, but that's Warhammer 40K, so I guess we can't do much about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.